Midfield porn. A midfield combination of Bruno Fernandes, Kobbie Mainoo and Joao Neves could have the potential to become one of the best midfields in Europe. But also, there are a couple of little concerns in there that I want to discuss as well. And I'm about to tell you why. But first and foremost, the three individuals that are in discussion, in my opinion, would bring a dynamic blend of creativity, energy and versatility, and not only that, but a combination of youth and experience and natural God-given talent. Now, I've got 8 sections that I want to dive into, so this is quite a deep, detailed video, so do stick with us. I think it's going to be very informative. I think it's going to be exciting to a certain extent to think about the prospects of these three guys playing together and how it could work. But also as well, the other side of things I really want to dive into, and I want to get your thoughts on. So if there is anything that I miss, or is anything you disagree with, or there's a certain profile or individual that you would rather have in there that would complement us better, get them in the comments and we'll have a discussion. But let's kick things off with number 1. Creativity and vision. Now, we all know Bruno Fernandes is one of the most creative players on the planet. I always think he's been hindered by a pretty shit midfield that's been behind him, whether that's been McFred or whether that's been, Casemiro's legs completely going, Christian Eriksen's legs completely going. Whoever it is, whatever combination's been in the midfield, for the majority of time, it's not been a stable unit, in my opinion. If he could focus more on his position and playing that killer pass and picking the ball up in the right areas, I mean, I'm talking like the final third, where he's an absolute killer. We saw it in the Galatasaray game. It's very rare last season where you saw him positionally disciplined. But in that game, when he's in that area, he can absolutely kill teams. And I think with that, with a proper structure around him, his performances are naturally going to increase. The issue is, when you bring in someone like a McTominay or an Eriksen, they specialise in certain things, right? So Scott McTominay is fantastic at crashing the box. Christian Eriksen's, can pull strings, relatively creative on the ball, technically sound, but both of them have deficiencies in the game. McTominay, apart from crashing the box and scoring, doesn't really add much, much sauce or flavour to the midfield. Likewise, Christian Eriksen, off the ball physically, he really, really struggles. So, what I'm saying is, if Bruno had 2 energetic, competent midfielders in behind him, it would make his job much easier, which would naturally improve his performances. We've already seen as United fans, we've had the pleasure for 4 years watching him pick out key passes, unlock defences at any stage in a game, no matter what the circumstance is. I've spoken about his position becoming more disciplined, which is why it helped, but also with Neves and Mainoo as well. They would then operate more freely, picking up spaces on the pitch themselves, drifting into certain areas, rotating in different attacking phases and defensive phases. And another factor to that as well is Kobbie and Neves can both play between the lines as well, but I'd like to see more kind of long-range passing from him, ones in behind, switches of play, so we can hit the opposition from all different areas like Man City do. Number 2, energy and tenacity. Now, one thing we've been lacking in that midfield for a while, and everyone will agree with you on this, physical presence and legs in the midfield, especially since we sold Fred and we've played Eriksen at times there. It's just a big gaping hole in the team. Joao Neves will bring a relentless work rate to the team. His pressing ability is really, really good to kind of disrupt the opposition's play. I think it'd complement Bruno's creative role and provide a balance between offense and defense. And something that United have been lacking for a long time now. If you look at some of Neves' metrics in Europe, they are phenomenal in terms of interceptions, ball recoveries, physical duels. He does really, really well. Even given his size, he's fantastic. And he's right up there with some of the best players in the Champions League. At Benfica, he's shown unbelievable consistency for such a young kid. He's a top tackler. He has a high footballing IQ. He knows when to sit, knows when to press, when to slow it down, when to speed it up. He's got absolutely everything in his arsenal. And he's not careless with the ball either. You see he's got a real passing consistency in a lot of games. Doesn't get bullied in duels. Keeps the ball extremely close and deals with it well in tight areas. And like I said, someone for his size, he shields it really well. Manages to keep hold of it, so he knows how to use his body. Again, we already know the crack with Bruno Fernandes. He works as hard as anyone on the pitch, and Kobbie's no slack when it comes to that either. So the tenacious side of it and the pressing side of it wouldn't necessarily worry me. It's the strength and the height that would be a potential issue, but we'll get into that towards the end. Number 4, youthful dynamism. Now, Kobbie Mainoo has had a meteoric rise. It's been unbelievable what he's done in the space of 6 months. I mean, the guy's gone from, his first start to scoring his first goal, to scoring an FA Cup final, to his first trophy, to going to the Euros with England and probably playing, having an important part in that Euro tournament. It's when you actually sit back and go, you know what, Kobbie, crazy. And he's dealt with it all like an absolute boss. I think a lot of people forget this kid's 19 years old. We can all see his ceiling is extremely high, and it's a given that you do absolutely everything in your power to give this kid a new contract, buff his wage up, give him 5 years, whatever it is, give him fucking 10 years for all I care, because I think he's going to be such an important asset to Man United, and if he's only going to get better, that is an insane thing to think about. And likewise with Joao Neves as well. This is a kid who plays above his age range, doesn't seem fazed by big occasions. He got man of the match in the biggest game in Portugal, Benfica versus Sporting Lisbon. He takes like a duck to water in any environment that he's in. Like I said, he was man of the match in that game. When he got called up to Portugal, he settled right in, didn't look fazed at all. Like, both of them are described as like these kind of fine wines, and that is absolutely spot on. I think Neves is more than ready to take the move to the Premier League, and having 2 kids with that much talent in the team is so exciting. Alongside a world-class creative player in Bruno, I mean, does that not excite everyone? Does that not get you off your fucking seat? What's interesting is each player offers different strengths, so you're creating a well-rounded midfield in that respect. Fernandez's advanced position, Neves' ability to sit, dictate, win the ball back, and then Kobbie Mainoo with his box-to-box energy, dribbling skills, and ability to rotate and sit if needs be, like he does with Declan Rice at England. This would allow the team to adapt to different situations during the match and be tactically flexible. Balance is a term that gets thrown about quite a lot, right? Like it means nothing. But if you look at some of the best midfields in the world, the blend of talent to complement each player is perfect. And let's go through some of them. So the obvious one is Rodri, De Bruyne, and Phil Foden. Rodri, orchestrating from deep, accurate passing, exceptional in-game intelligence, provides crucial balance to that side, shields the defence, and then facilitates the transition from defence to attack. Also, his positional awareness and ability to break up the opposition play makes him indispensable in Pep's tactical setup. And you've seen how much balance that brings, and you've seen how much it's not there. When he's not there, they are completely off it. You then have Kevin De Bruyne, who operates as that kind of creative engine, driving the team's attacking play with obviously his visionary passes, dribbling, and exceptional ability to find space at the right time. Similar to Messi in that sometimes they're assessing the game and they're just waiting for things are floating by, and they'll drift into that pocket of space and he'll just play that killer pass. And he gets key assists, he scores crucial goals in massive games, dictates the tempo throughout the full game as well. He's just brilliant, like tactical, technical, whatever way you want to look at Kevin De Bruyne, or again, it's all about balance. Then you have the cherry on top, the player of the season in Phil Foden. A dynamic, versatile player who can drift past players with ease, great in tight spaces, again, can open up defences, can shoot from anywhere on the pitch and practically score, can play on the right, can play on the left, can play as a 10, so can fill in spaces. Wherever De Bruyne vacates or whoever it is in the forward line vacates, he can slot in there perfectly. He's played everywhere across that front line. And again, blend, balance, this is what I'm talking about. Number 6, technical proficiency. All 3 players in today's video that I'm discussing have got strong technical ability. Fernandez, you know what you get with him. Precise passing, can play them balls in behind, can control the tempo at times, deft ball control, ability to execute intricate plays under pressure, turning the game on its head. He is a creative powerhouse in the midfield. Then you have Joao Neves, sharp passing accuracy, ability to dribble in tight areas, can shield the ball, can manipulate it really well, and he has the intelligence across the pitch in any situation to deal with it. Then you have Mainoo, who's very similar in that respect in terms of, movement in tight areas. You look at the Liverpool game, you look at his goal against Wolves, he maintains possession effectively. And that's because he's technically he's right up there. He's phenomenal. And he transitions smoothly between attack and defence as well. So I'm telling you right now, you ain't getting anywhere near this midfield with the ball if them 3 operate together. Number 7, leadership and experience. Now, obviously, Bruno Fernandes is going to take the mantle for this as the captain of Man United, a seasoned international. He's obviously been crucial with his experience and leadership, with players like Kobbie, who are already in the team, and then with Neves coming in as well. you can only imagine their development's just going to go up and up and up and up and up. And then the more they play together, the more cohesion they have. Like I said, Bruno and Kobe already have a great relationship together and work well. Bruno's played with Joao Neves with Portugal, with his international team, so he's familiar with his game, which makes the transition into the team much smoother, and we need him ready to hit the ground running for when the Premier League season starts. Number 8, defensive solidity. With Neves' defensive capabilities and Mainoo's ability to rotate, the midfield wouldn't be over-reliant on Fernandes for defensive duties, allowing him to purely focus on orchestrating the attack. We'd be able to deal with transitions much easier, as Neves can cover much more distance than players like Casemiro, for example. If you need to drop Bruno back a little bit and advance Kobe into them areas, if you think he's got a better chance in certain games, I'd like to think that that would work. And I'd like to think as well that we wouldn't be as open as we've been last season. So that would be my only concern. It all depends on the style of player as well that you're going to implement these players into. But I think we'd be much more defensively sound. Number 9. Now, this is where we talk about the potential for growth and European success. Integrating young talents like Neves and Mainoo alongside an established star like Fernandes would accelerate their development. It's creating a long-term solution for the midfield that can grow and improve over time. At first, it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows. You're going to need a good amount of games with each other to get used to it. You're going to need a stable environment for them to grow properly, because we've seen some of the biggest talents come to Manchester United and absolutely flop. So it's obviously a difficult place to grow and succeed as a player. I do think that will change with INEOS over time. I think it'll take a while, but they'll certainly be focusing on that, and that'll be one of their priorities heading into this season. I mean, you've seen the growth and some of the talent in our team already and the age profiles. You talk about Rasmus Højlund, Ahmad, Garnacho, Kobbie Mainoo. You know, you bring someone like a Neves into that fold. How exciting is that? Building around them players for the future. Yeah, very exciting. Number 10, a couple of concerns. So, look, height and physicality would be an issue in certain games. That's an absolute fact. You look at some of the best number 6s in the world. They're all physical, all have a certain stature about him. You talk about Declan Rice, who probably is better as an 8, but does play as a 6 as well. Rodri, Tchouaméni, big physical lads who can glide across the pitch. They're fantastic in aerial duels as well, and they are at the best technically. Joao Neves is quite small. He's like 5'8", which is about my height, and he isn't necessarily bulky. We've lacked physicality throughout the team for the past couple of years. I mentioned players like Eriksen before. You know, even Bruno's not physically strong. He works hard, but he's not physically strong. So sometimes we get done, or quite a lot we get done on set pieces defensively, and we struggle offensively in set pieces as well. Now, ideally, someone like Onana would be a perfect profile in that sense, but I don't think he's near the level and has a ceiling as high as Neves. Could end up getting bullied a little bit in the middle of the park, but I've also seen examples where it's worked. So you think about, let's say, Liverpool's midfield, McAllister, Endo, Harvey Elliott. Is that a big, physical, strong, any of them players like that? No. They're all quite weedy, but they're technically really, really good. They have football intelligence, and it works. You move over to Europe, you talk about PSG, Vitinha, Asensio, Fabian Ruiz. So these are examples where it could work, but you have to get the blend right, and that's why I keep mentioning balance. But height is definitely an issue, because you look at Lisandro Martinez, who's behind them as well. He's quite small. He's like 5'8". So then you've got Kobe, Bruno, Neves, Lisandro. That's a lot of small players who are quite. You know, Lisandro's strong. Don't get it twisted, and Kobe's strong for his size as well. So maybe it would work, but you almost have a spine of a team there that lacks strength, and a spine without strength won't hold the team together. And finally, we have the conclusion to this video. Look, I really think the creativity, energy, and balance makes a compelling case for why a midfield of Bruno Fernandes, Joao Neves, and Kobbie Mainoo could work exceptionally well together. Now, experts will always have an opinion on Twitter. You'll get certain tacticians who may find flaw in this midfield, and that's absolutely fine. But if you look at the options out there at the moment, Joao Neves is the one that excites me the most. 100%. We've needed a real big talent in that midfield for a long, long time. These are the type of players that City would sign, the type of players that probably Arsenal are looking at the moment. And it's not the type of player we get. We go for a big name on a big wage who's had a reputation for a while and then ends up coming to United and being a flop. And we've neglected this position for a long time, apart from Casemiro's first year at the club where he was, you know, phenomenal. But every great team who's ever won anything has a fantastic midfield. Barcelona, one of the greatest teams ever, if not the greatest team. Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets. Madrid, Casemiro, Cruz, Modric, and so on and so on and so on. So let me know if you think this midfield could work. Come back at me if you see certain flaws in there, or if you think, you know, this player would probably be a better fit for balance, because that's what football is all about, a difference in opinion, right? Let's talk about it. Let me know what you think of the video. Thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.